Have you ever felt like life was moving too fast and you were just reacting? Like every day was a blur of messages, deadlines, emotions, and somewhere in the middle of all that noise, you started forgetting who you really are. I know that feeling. I've lived that feeling. Until I discovered a quiet, almost ancient tool, a notebook and a pen. Not productivity hacks, not another app, just journaling. And no, I'm not talking about Dear Diary, today I ate pasta. I'm talking about 5 specific journaling habits that will help you grow mentally, emotionally, and spiritually faster than 95% of people around you. These are the habits that high performers, deep thinkers, and conscious creators return to, not because they're fancy, but because they work. And today I'm going to show you how to make them work for you. Habit 1, the morning check-in. What am I feeling and what do I need? Mom, most people wake up and immediately hand over their attention to the notifications, to the noise, to the needs of the world. We scroll, we swipe, we react. Before we've even had a chance to breathe, our nervous system is already on high alert. But what if, instead of reaching for your phone, you reached for your journal? What if the first thing you gave your mind each morning wasn't more content, but clarity? A sacred pause before the storm of the day. Just you, your thoughts, and one powerful question. What am I feeling? Followed by another, what do I need today? This is not about fixing yourself. It's about hearing yourself. It's about choosing to begin your day in truth, not in reaction. When you give yourself just 5 quiet minutes to check in, something shifts. You realize the tension you carried from yesterday. You notice the excitement bubbling under the surface. You acknowledge the fatigue that needs rest or the anxiety that needs space. And when you name it, you reclaim it. That act of writing turns emotion into awareness and awareness into agency. Your body relaxes, your mind aligns, and instead of bracing for the day, you step into it with intention. Over time, this tiny ritual rewires your brain. You stop living from autopilot and start living from presence. You become less reactive, more reflective, less scattered, more grounded. It's 5 minutes that say to your whole being, I see you, I choose you. Let's live today with purpose. And that's not just a journaling habit. That's a revolution. Habit 2, the 1% reflection. What did I learn today? We often think growth comes from breakthroughs, those big, dramatic moments where everything suddenly changes. But real growth, it's quiet. It sneaks in when no one is watching. It happens in the smallest realizations, the subtle shifts in how we see ourselves and the world. That's what this habit is about. Every evening, take just a few minutes to answer one question. What did I learn today? Maybe you learned that you get anxious when plans change, and now you understand why. Maybe you saw how your tone affected someone else. Maybe you realized you pushed yourself too hard and need more rest. It doesn't have to be profound. It just has to be honest, because those tiny reflections, they compound. One insight per day becomes 365 personal upgrades a year. And here's the truth most people miss. The ones who grow the fastest are not the ones with the most talent. They're the ones who pause long enough to learn. This habit builds a growth mindset in real time. It trains your brain to see lessons, not just problems, to see patterns, not just days. And over time, you quietly outgrow the version of you who wasn't paying attention. The 1% shift becomes a lifetime of evolution, not by force, by reflection. Habit 3, identity writing. I am becoming. This habit is where journaling turns from reflection into transformation. Because it's one thing to record what happened, it's another to rehearse who you're becoming. Most people write down what went wrong, how the day felt, or what they regret, and that has value. But identity writing, it moves you forward. It rewires the narrative you tell yourself. Instead of I messed up again, you write, I am becoming someone who learns from their mistakes. Instead of I'm always distracted, you write, I am becoming a focused, intentional thinker. These aren't fake affirmations. They're bridges between where you are and where you're headed. When you write I am becoming, you activate a part of your brain that begins to believe. You send a subtle message to your subconscious. This is who I want to grow into. And day by day, word by word, your identity starts to shift. You go from surviving your habits to designing your character, from reaction to reinvention. It's not about pretending you're perfect. It's about practicing the self you aspire to embody. And that practice, that's how transformation sticks. Quietly, steadily, authentically. Habit 4, emotional inventory. What am I carrying that's not mine? Some days you wake up feeling heavy, but when you stop and look around, nothing's actually wrong. No crisis, no fight, no clear reason. And yet your chest feels tight. Your mind feels crowded. That's when it's time to check in, not with your to-do list, but with your energy. Because here's the truth. We absorb things, other people's moods, their stress, their expectations, that awkward silence in the meeting, that tension at home. And without realizing it, we carry what was never ours to begin with. That's where journaling becomes emotional hygiene. When you sit down and ask, what am I feeling about now? And then follow it with, is this mine? You begin to untangle the emotional knots. You might write, I'm anxious, but now that I think about it, my coworker was super tense today. Maybe I picked that up. Or, I feel off, but I've been doom scrolling the news. No wonder. The page becomes a mirror, not just for your thoughts, but for your boundaries. And when you start practicing this habit, something shifts. You stop drowning in feelings you never asked for. You stop mistaking other people's energy as your own identity. And suddenly you feel lighter, clearer, more you. This isn't about becoming emotionally numb. It's about becoming emotionally clean. And when your inner space is clear, your outer life follows. Habit 5, the thank you letter. Even for the hard things. Gratitude journaling isn't new, but this version, it digs deeper. It's not about listing the obvious blessings. It's about finding the gift inside the grief, the strength inside the struggle. Once a week, sit down and write a thank you letter, not to a person, but to an experience that challenged you. Maybe it's thank you to the failure that humbled me, or thank you to the breakup that broke me, because it also woke me. When you write this way, something shifts inside. You stop seeing pain as punishment and start seeing it as a portal, a teacher. You realize that even the hardest moments shaped you, grew you, and peeled back layers to reveal something truer underneath. This habit doesn't glorify suffering. It transforms it. It turns the past into fuel, not baggage. And it teaches your mind that healing doesn't come from forgetting, but from honoring what you've been through. When you can say thank you, even to what hurt, you reclaim the narrative. You stop being the victim of your story and start becoming the author. That's not just gratitude, that's power. These 5 habits, they're not about filling pages, they're about clearing space. Space to feel, space to think, space to remember who you are before the world tells you who to be. Just 5 to 10 minutes a day, and yet over time, they shape a version of you that is more grounded, more self-aware, and more you than ever before. Because the truth is, the people who grow the fastest aren't the ones born with the most talent. They're the ones who pause, reflect, and write. Your journal isn't just paper. It's a mirror to see yourself clearly, a compass to guide you, and a quiet training ground for your becoming. So now it's your turn. Which habit will you start today? Has journaling ever helped you through something hard? Drop your answer in the comments. Tap like if this gave you even a moment of clarity. Subscribe for more grounded growth. And share this with someone who needs a pen, a page, and a path back to themselves. You don't have to write perfectly. You just have to begin. One line, one page, one honest moment at a time. Let's grow together.